So the story goes like this. Grandma passes away. I inherit Grandma's Buick. Free car. Hey. But contrary to popular belief, you cannot take a Buick on a trail drive or overlanding. I mean, you can try. So I wanted to get something I've always liked because they're smallest of the bunch H3s. So I went on Craigslist and I found this one nearby, and literally it was from a little old lady that drove it to the bank every day. Had like 40,000 miles on it. It was a 2006. This is back in 2016 to 2015 or 16 when I got it. It was like 14 grand. The only thing I saw that raised a red flag was someone had personally replaced the CV joints. So I knew that wasn't gonna last, and they didn't. It leaked, and I had to replace them. But I sold the Buick basically at the end of the day for $6,000. I had a brand new used Grandma drove to the bank H3 with the inline 5. I just wanted to show you guys how you can take not a Jeep and make it into a nice trail truck, and we'll see if it worked out. So here's our canvas to begin with. Little old lady's H3 low to the ground. So to start with, I have a rough country 2.5-inch leveling kit, I think they call it. Here's the graphic for it, but it's pretty simple. Just shackles in the back, a spacer on the torsion bar bolt so you don't run out of threads, so you can go all the way up and get you're basically taking the front tires and going like this with them. So usually you have to get an alignment to get them back like that so that you don't wear your tires out like that. What's that? Caster? Character? And the shackles in the back, you are raising the back end up a little bit by pushing the back of the leaf springs away. The hardest part about the shackles is, number one, luckily this was a California H3, so no rust, and the shackle bolts came out pretty easily. Just a little WD, undid them, and they popped right out. The hardest part is, as a one-man job, getting the leaf spring pushed down with the new shackle on it to get the top bolt back in place over the bushing. So as you can see here, not lined up, and that was the hardest part. I spent several hours into the night trying to get this lined up and the bolt back in because I'm working all by myself. It does drop the rear leaf springs down quite a bit. Like, I personally noticed it because I did it, but like behind the bumper you can now see them, which is kind of old school four-wheeling where you can really see the, like Land Cruisers of the day and the old Scouts. You can see the leaf springs. So that part kind of sucks. You don't get quite as much travel with the leaf springs as you do with four-linking it. I'm not going to get crazy. That's expensive. But they also kind of act as like natural rock sliders. From putting the rear shackles in, you can see, if you look at the shocks right there, you can see how much it raised up. So the second part is just the simple torsion bar. Like, if you're very new to off-roading, independent front suspension, most from the factory, especially GM's, IFS it's called. You four-wheeler guys know all this stuff, right? They have a torsion bar that acts like the front leaf spring or the front coil spring. It's literally a loaded bar that's bolted to the frame about midway through the truck that goes to the front suspension, and it literally is torsioned so it gives and takes, so your front tires go up and down, and you can turn those so that it's, like I said before, pushing the tires down farther, thus raising the truck up. So you take the torsion bar bolt out, comes out fairly easily, and you take that little spacer off and you put your own little spacer that comes in the rough country kit on top of the bolt like that, and then it gets torqued back up like that. The final step in it is just this tiny little spacer that you have to put on top of the shock so that you don't basically run out of travel because the front shocks are really short, so you'll run out of down travel. So you have to put a spacer in the top so it pushes it down so you don't run out of down travel. Does that make sense? The front shocks on this, since it's IFS, not gonna lie, it's easy. This little part, putting the spacers in there, is easy to do, technically speaking, but it's like a jungle gym in there to try to get the shock back up in there, especially if you're working all by yourself, which I usually always do, and most of you guys probably are. It kind of sucks. It's like, yeah, that's shock. Mounting sound effects. So here's the before. Granny car, before, after. See? It's level and it's, you know, with these smaller tires, before, after. Smaller tires, you can definitely see there's more space. Before, after. I like that. That makes you feel good. Before, after. Before, after. So next is tires. If you're like me, picking out off-road tires is possibly one of the coolest things ever. It's just like cool that you, like, there's so much out there. And I went from, I think there's like 29-inch or 30-inch tires, street tires that were on it from Grandma, to I went up to 33s on this. And at the time, the BFG KO2 had just come out. So there's a billion of them out there now, but these had just come out, and I wanted something because I knew I was gonna be driving on the street 80% of the time and trail 20% of the time. So I liked them, like looked at them like the sidewall, and so I went with these. I got them bought it and mounted them from 4-wheel parts. That's all I'll say about that. I told them 5 times to raise white letters out, literally, and we wrote it in bold on the work slip, and they mounted them, raise white letters, not out. That's a microcosm for other things that have gone wrong there. I definitely could not have fit the 33s on here without doing the 2.5-inch lift. I didn't have to trim anything with the 33s, and they're good. This is a good starter trail truck. Cheap, you know, Craigslist trail truck. 33s are good. Other couple little things I did, I just painted the bumper all black and painted the tow hooks orange. So at this point, I just figured it's time to just load it up, give her a test. So we went to Carrizo Plains, which is a nice off-roading trail drive camping area with some pretty good hills in the central California. As we got started, I liked it a lot. It drove good, handled well, and maneuverability is awesome. There's this thing that the H3s have where you can turn them really tight. Like the front really flop over, the steering flops over, and you can take real tight turns. And which is good for some of the trails that we go on, because some of these are like, you know, white knucklers out on the edge of cliffs and switchbacks, and with a cliff on one side and the other, or straight up on one side and the other. And this handled that really, really well, like a Jeep would. You know, most Jeeps do too, especially the 2 doors. Another great thing is it's perfect for camping. I slept in the back of it, and it was great. I made a thing so that, because when the seats go down in the back of an H3, they don't go all the way down. It's like back is flat, and then where the seats go down, they don't go all the way down. So I just built a flat platform with storage underneath, if that's making any sense, so that I could sleep in the back. And it worked great. And you can get this thing really into any little area. We found a nice little mountaintop area to camp in, and I liked it so far. But then the real test came, which is the point of it failing. Hence the title of this video. That was the second try at this hill. Very steep hill. I know the camera flattens it out. Sorry about the wind, by the way. It was mega windy that day. Hella windy, some people might say. So you can see too that it's really powdered up ruts. And so the first time I went up, I just thought I could just crawl up it. But I literally got to a certain point and got stuck. And it was like foot to the floor. It wasn't even spinning anymore. I was just stuck, like power stuck, just try to get momentum, and that was floored. This is floored. Full throttle. So, needless to say, you probably figured that out right from the get-go, since with the inline 5, that's the huge sticking point with this trail truck for me. It does not get good gas mileage, especially when you put bigger tires on it. It gets way worse gas mileage than it would if it was an Alpha with a V8, which you probably know I already have. And 0 power. I mean, literally, you heard it right there. This is foot to the floor, literally pushing my foot through the floor. I didn't think it would be that bad, but it was that bad. I didn't think it'd be that bad though, but it was that bad. I tried chipping it, but nobody really makes a good chip or tuner for the inline 5. And it just didn't do anything. Like, I tried it and it failed a bunch of times and made a lot of lights stay on the dash, and it didn't do anything. And so I just wiped out the program and put it back to stock. That's it. So positives. If you want to get into a trail truck cheap, there are a lot of these on Craigslist. And I've seen them, they're pretty high mileage now because obviously they don't make them anymore, but I've seen them anywhere in the range from $5,000 to about $9,000. It's 5 to 10,000 used out there on used lots and Craigslist. So if you're doing a trade-in, this is cheaper than a $30,000 side-by-side. So my opinion, it would be a good starter truck, but if you're even reasonably going to take somewhat of a medium or hard trail, or forget carrying a trailer. It's not going to happen. You'll be miserable, and you'll have your foot to the floor the whole time. You'll get like calf cramps from just mashing it. So I'll have more videos on that one to come, but I hope you learned something from this one. All right, I'll shut up. Enjoy. I'm not one to do all the ring the bell, subscribe, ring the bell, do me a favor, like it. I don't do all that. You can if you want to. Enjoy. That is straight down. That's straight out. Straight down. Whew. This is the first time I've ever seen one in my life. No wonder, look at that, you can barely even see him there, now that he's in there. Oh, he's coming back this way.